Hi guys, it's me, Tony the T-Man. Today I had the opportunity to sit down with somebody who has been a really great mentor for me, somebody who has been really influential in my transition, somebody who helped me lose weight and who helped me feel better throughout my transition. And I wanted to share some of his experiences, some of his knowledge with you guys. So I wrote down 5 questions for him and I asked him those questions, and here is the video of him, and me talking. So I hope this helps you guys, and I hope this answers some questions for you guys. If you're already starting tea or you're thinking about starting tea and you're wondering what I can do while taking tea to maximize, the tea in that first year. Alright guys, without further ado, here goes. Alright guys, so I'm sitting here with David Quarter, certified personal trainer and owner of Perfect Fit Wellness Center. And he also is friends with people like Buck Angel, so he knows some people in the trans community that are influential to all of us.
I know people in the trans community as well as having trans family members.
Right. So today I thought I would make a video asking him some questions of different things that he's had to overcome or work around when it comes to working with trans people and working out. Okay, so I have a couple questions for you.
Okay.
So I want to know, why is it important to work out while taking tea?
I don't think that there's a real reason why it's important to work out while taking tea. I think that what you're really looking for is taking tea will affect the body no matter what. But what you're trying to do by working out is make the tea work the best for you. Okay, so the tea itself is not doing it. What you're doing is making a choice to make the tea work for you. The tea will make certain transitions for you pretty naturally. You have natural tea in your body to begin with. You have natural estrogen in your body to begin with. What you're doing is changing the balance of those. So in order to make them work more effectively, building the muscle and working on the muscle growth is really what you're looking for. So working out is taking that tea that is now in your system and putting it to its best use.
Okay, so it doesn't just sit there.
So it doesn't just sit there and make the little changes, you're making them faster.
Right. Do you think that working out while taking tea helps overall, your body adjust to transitioning?
I think there are 2 major issues there. Yes, it does help because the tea helps build the muscle, which is what you're looking for. But I think on the psychological level, it helps because you're seeing the effects of the tea and you're seeing the changes in your body, which are what you are truly looking for, right?
Yeah.
There's a mental effect there too. It's I want to look in the mirror and I want to look a specific way.
Right.
And so you're making those changes quicker.
Okay. Alright, so the second question is, what foods should I avoid while transitioning, especially in the first year? Because it is more of a topsy-turvy time during transitioning.
There are 2 things to keep in mind here, okay? There's one is how do I make my food work best for the changes I'm trying to make in my body. So that's the first thing that you're going to look at. So you're going to go for a lower carb diet, lower sugars, looking for natural sugars, fruits, vegetables, things like that, so that your body absorbs them and uses them quicker. You're also trying not to hide the muscle, so you really want to be careful with your nutrition to make sure that you are losing fat and not losing muscle. So keep up the protein, eat high carbohydrates as far as slow processed carbohydrates, low processed carbohydrates, so natural fruits, natural sugars, lots of veggies, things like that. Avoiding starches, carbohydrates, such as pastas, breads, things like that, because you don't want to cover up what you're trying to build, right? So you're trying to build the muscle, you want a little bit of body fat to not get in the way. So that's the first thing. The second thing is don't eat foods that are going to counteract the tea or counteract what you're trying to do with estrogen, you're trying to lower estrogen. So one of the first things we talked about was cutting soy, because soy has a very high estrogen content to it. So you're actually adding estrogen, and that's kind of counteracting your T.
Right.
So you want to keep the estrogen levels low. So you cut foods that build estrogen, which oftentimes can be milk products, soy products,
Right.
anything that has been, oftentimes cows get treated with lots of different hormones.
Right.
And so we need to be careful about what we're taking in our body as well.
Okay.
But really probably one of the biggest ones is soy.
Right.
Because thinking I need protein, so one of the major sources of protein in protein powders is soy protein powder.
Right.
And that really is high in estrogen.
Okay. So when I, go on Google and I search, foods that have estrogen, that's not all baloney.
No,
Okay.
no,
So
no, not
a
at all.
lot of that food does really have
Yeah.
estrogen that we should be avoiding.
Yeah, well, and you don't want to mess up the work that you're trying to do,
Right.
right? And it won't necessarily mess it up as much as it will slow the process down.
Right.
And
And that
so-
first year is so critical to
Yeah.
us. So definitely avoiding anything that counteracts what we're trying to go for.
Right, because that first year is not so much because of the physical changes, but because you mentally are really looking for those changes.
Right.
And if you're not seeing them as fast, then that will cause depression. That will cause a lot of other things.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not getting there. What am I doing this for? Those types of thoughts start coming into your head, and you want to avoid those thoughts as much as possible.
Absolutely. I know that personally when I went vegan and ate all soy, I felt more emotional.
Hmm.
I was not okay.
Right.
And it was a slow incline, but it was noticeable at the end that the soy had made a big effect on my overall emotional state.
Right.
So definitely I agree with taking out anything that has so much estrogen in it that it fights what we're doing.
Right.
All right. So my next question is, how does taking tea affect working out? So, how does it affect my muscles? How does it affect my fat? And what about working out changes when I start taking tea?
The tea itself won't really affect the fat. Okay? What you're trying to do is you're trying to build muscles. Naturally, men have more testosterone. Naturally, women have more estrogen. They both have both in them. They just have them at different levels.
Right.
So by increasing the amount of tea that you have in your body, what you're doing is you're changing the balance of the hormones in the body, which then allow you to become more muscular. And that's really the big part of it. It changes the way the muscle grows. I get a lot of women that come in and say, I don't want to lift weights because I don't want to look muscular.
Mhm.
And I tell them, it's not going to happen because your natural body hormones are going to keep you from growing there. So you, on the other hand, taking tea because you're looking for that muscular growth, okay? So it allows for that muscular growth, so it basically is going to help stop the estrogen from keeping the muscles growing too big and allow you to grow leaner muscle, but it doesn't really help with the fat.
Okay. So
Okay.
it's not something that is gonna target fat and start
No. Not at all.
I gotcha.
So remember, the ultimate thing is muscle burns fat.
Okay.
So the more muscle that I have, the more fat I am capable of burning.
Right.
Okay? So that's really where this kind of misnomer comes in, that tea is helping you to burn fat. It really isn't. Tea is helping you to build muscle, which in turn is helping you to burn fat.
Right.
But you need, again, going back to nutrition, watch your carbohydrates, your simple sugars, and up your cardiovascular
Okay. Okay.
to lose the fat so that you uncover the muscle.
Right.
You're working hard on that muscle. Don't hide it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Absolutely. That makes sense. Okay. All right. My next question is, what should I avoid while working out? So, we do tend to want our results as quickly as possible, and I want to make sure that there aren't any men out there who are pushing themselves too hard in that first year, thinking that the testosterone is going to make them into the Hulk.
Right. this is really the biggest question for anybody beginning working out. This is not just for trans men.
Right.
Okay? This is really for everybody.
Right.
This is, you go into it, you do it methodically, you do it with good intentions so that you don't overweight yourself and destroy tendons, ligaments, and joints. You're really not going to destroy the muscles. You may pull a muscle by lifting too much, but the big thing is you don't want to mess up your tendons and ligaments and joints.
Right.
Your body's going through a lot of changes, and by adding the weight to it, you're helping those changes. But that's a process. It's not an overnight process.
Right.
And so in reality, most trans men that I've worked with in the past, really, they feel the results more in the first year. They see the results more in the 5th year.
Okay.
Okay? It takes that long for the body to really change.
Right. And
Okay.
I've been hearing about how a 5-year on T is kind of like your milestone, you know,
Right.
where really the changes should have slowed down as much as possible
Right.
at that point.
Right. It's when everything starts to balance out again. You know, kind of like when you're going through puberty.
Right.
Puberty is like a 5 to 7 year process.
Right.
You know, it doesn't happen overnight. There's changes that happen all the way through. So in reality, you're taking that puberty and you're going through it a second time.
Right.
And so you need to look at that as, that is my growing stage. And so you don't look at it too early and say, oh, I'm not growing fast enough, I'm not doing this, I'm going to hurt myself. I need to look at that process. And that in reality, and I tell this with a lot of my weight loss clients, they come in and they want to lose 50 pounds in the next 3 months.
Yeah.
And I'm like going, okay, well, that's possible, but the trouble is keeping it off then is virtually impossible, because the changes you have to make in your life in order to create that fast change are not changes that are lifetime changes.
Right.
And what you're looking for is lifetime changes. So slower process, longer results.
Okay, so I see what you're saying. So the more you invest into, you know, creating that routine,
Mm-hmm.
the better the results are going to be long term.
Exactly.
Okay, I see. So the more rush we try to make it
Right.
by pumping ourselves really hard and da-da-da-da-da.
Dieting really heavy
Yeah.
and all of this kind of stuff, you put yourself in for injury,
Right.
and your results are not sustainable because that lifestyle is not sustainable.
Right. Okay, so it's not about fast results, it's about consistency.
Exactly. Consistency is always the key.
Okay, absolutely. Okay. All right, our last question. This is my favorite one. So, what have you learned from working with people who are trans? What are some hurdles that you've had to overcome as far as, you know, things that we go through just to get where we are, whatever? What's been your experience with working with trans people?
I'm not sure I'm going to answer this the way you want me to answer this. What I see is everybody comes to me with a vision of who they see themselves as, a vision of what they want to be. I don't see it that big of a difference. A person that is cisgender coming in that's overweight, that wants to be strong,
Right.
or wants to be lean, they have the same desires, the same goals. A trans person coming in has the same desires and same goals. It's just that their desires and goals are not seen by the cis community or by the general community as being legit. The goals and the desires are the same.
Right.
They're the same across the board. I just want to be accepted. I want to feel good in my body. I want to be who I want to be.
Right.
That's the same for cisgender, transgender, doesn't matter, right? So the goals they're not different. I think the perception of the goals is different. You coming into me as a trans male, feel it really deep, but a cis person coming in that really wants to get well feels it just as deep. But theirs is looked at like, oh, that's normal.
Right.
And yours is looked at as not normal. So I think what you ask me is, what do I see difference? The difference is outside perception, not inner perception.
So it's just our way of looking at ourselves and saying, I'm different,
Mm-hmm.
instead of other people saying, you know,
Yeah,
you can't do this, you
Right.
can't do that.
exactly. It's a perception from the outside world versus the inside world. So you're battling it. So you might feel it stronger because you're dealing with a negative push from the outside.
Right.
But the goal, the desire, the passion is the same on either side of the story. It's the same on either side. It's just that one is looked at like, oh, this person's trying to help themselves. And this person is looking, they're trying to change who God made them.
Right.
But that's a really bad point of view, because God made you who you are, period. God gave you a new avenue. And I see that avenue as a way to teach other people love. Not only to teach yourself love, to love yourself, but to teach other people to love.
Yeah.
So when we get rid of the judgment, and we understand that everybody is coming into this from the same point, you're not trying to change yourself, you're trying to turn yourself into what you feel you are to begin with. That's the same thing a heavyweight woman coming in to meet, wanting to do the same thing.
Right.
She's wanting to turn into what she wants. The desire, passion, everything is the same. It's just the outworld perception of it
Right.
is different.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I think that's a really strong message for trans people, because very often we base ourselves on what everyone else thinks. You know, we base how we feel about passing, and how we feel about, you know, just going out in public and just seeing people and people misgendering us, and there's so much that we base on what other people say. And when it comes to working out, when it comes to bettering yourself, you have to really do that because you want that yourself, not because anyone, you know, is telling you that it's going to make you better, more masculine, more feminine, whatever it is. All right.
Any other questions?
Actually, I do have one more question for you. Have you worked with trans women?
Yes.
And with working out and, you know, trying to eliminate muscle tone or make themselves give it more
I
feminine
think
figure?
they're looking for the more feminine qualities.
Right.
Right? But most of them that I've worked out with still have quite a bit of muscular tone to begin with. They're just looking for the softer features.
Right.
And the softer features are not necessarily those that change with estrogen, or change with workout, I should say. You know, it's a much slower process.
Right, right.
You know, it's different, and they have tools that you don't have as a trans male. They have makeup.
Right.
They have clothing
Yeah.
that changes things. They can wear a padded bra. They can do a lot of things, whereas you can't.
Right.
So there's a difference there between the trans male and the trans female. And oftentimes, again, what we were just talking about, the desire, the passion, everything is the same. It's self-perception that changes.
So come into the gym just coming in to work out.
Yeah. To make you the best you that you can possibly be. Whether that be cisgender, trans male, trans female, doesn't matter. It's the important thing is that you understand where you are and what your goals are.
Right. Okay. Well, I think that's Perfect. I think that's
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for trusting me with this information.
Yes, absolutely. I appreciate your knowledge. You definitely have a lot of experience with our community, and you know, there's so many people out there who don't know anything about how to start or where to go or you know what to do, how to work out, etc. And it's invaluable what you know. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right.